Reports have come out that young star Jalen Green could potentially be traded away from the Houston Rockets this summer, and there's been some speculation amongst Raptors land that Toronto could offer up Pascal Siakam in a potential package with the Houston Rockets. So we'll break that down, including a minor Woj coaching update, and the GOAT Kyle Lowry absolutely killing it for the Miami Heat during this playoff run and receiving some praise across the NBA. So lots of stuff to dive into, all that and more. So without further ado, let's jump on the first topic of discussion, and it's an interesting conversation that's been popping around Raptors land. It's Pascal Siakam for Jalen Green trade. So, as I mentioned in the intro, the Houston Rockets could potentially be trading away Jalen Green, as the rumors are saying that he could be shot by the Rockets to acquire a star player. Right, from all the indications from their moves this offseason, what they have planned, they just brought in Ime Udoka. A lot of reporters have been reporting that James Harden could potentially be on his way back to Houston this summer, and it just seems like the vibe from all the reports, rumors, and stuff, the Rockets want to be back to being a contending team next season. And we'll talk about it in the final segment, but Ime Udoka doesn't want to be coaching a sorry squad, and the Rockets are trying to position themselves into a team that's not going to be a bottom dweller in the Western Conference for next season. And that leads us to this rumor, right? Jalen Green potentially being traded away for an all-star. And once these rumors and reports came out, immediately Toronto Raptors fans were saying, hey, would it make sense for the Raptors to offer up Pascal in a potential package for Jalen Green? And if you look at the stats, right, sure, Jalen Green had a poor rookie year. He was drafted the same year as Scottie, right? I wouldn't even say poor, right? Not the most efficient rookie of years. He did definitely improve during his game during last season. Right, 22 points per game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 34% from behind the three-point line, taking a lot of high volume of threes, a lot of those shots, 42% from the field, but is a guy that can certainly shoot the basketball and put up points in bunches. And the Raptors are trying to go in a younger direction. If they're trying to, fill that youth movement to build around that timeline of Scottie Barnes and even OG and an OBS player, move away from, the Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam timeline, this would be an interesting pickup, right? Obviously, Pascal, as of right now, is the much better player, right? 24 points per game, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. More efficient from the field by a significant margin, shoots relatively the same percentage, close enough percentages from the three-point line. Jalen Green is definitely the better shooter, right? Takes a much higher volume than Pascal, from behind the three-point arc. But, Jalen Green's a lot younger. He's shown those scoring flashes, and sure, he's putting up a lot of stats on a bad team in the Houston Rockets. They're objectively one of the worst squad in the NBA last season, but a guy that has a lot of potential, is an athletic phenom, and fits that Scottie Barnes timeline. So I thought it'd be interesting to sort of bring up the conversation on this channel, especially where, we're kind of in no man's land of the Toronto Raptors, year-round news and stuff, to see what you guys think about the Raptors potentially making a deal for Pascal Siakam going for Jalen Green. I think, well, obviously money, we'd have to get more assets coming back, but in terms of a one-for-one package, right, it's tough to gauge the value of a young player like Green, who, yes, has put up remarkable numbers, still very young, but on a bad team isn't efficient, right? You could go the Devin Booker route, where you see him being called empty stats and all these sorts of things, right, for his Phoenix Suns teams, and they're a bad roster, and then now he's one of the best players in the playoffs for this season so far, right? Or you could go in the other direction, where he just end up being a high-volume scorer on a bad team and can never really adjust to winning basketball. So it's a risk you're taking, but be interesting to see if Masai Ujiri's not afraid to take those big swings. So let me know if you guys like to see the Raptors trade away Pascal Siakam for Jalen Green in the comment section below. But the next thing we're taking a look at is Kyle Lowry receiving some serious love across the NBA. And this is it's warming my heart a little bit, because Kyle Lowry, obviously the GOAT of this franchise, he's down there with the Miami Heat, and yes, people have been watching this podcast know I'm not a big fan of the Miami Heat team. Right, we've had some battles with them. They're a bit chippy. They've had a similar vibe as the Toronto Raptors in recent years, or maybe not the most recent years, but during the past decade. So we fought even in the playoffs once, against the Miami Heat. So it hurt to see Kyle Lowry suit up down there in Florida, but the fact that they're the 8th seed right now, coming in the play-in tournament, they're the underdogs coming into these playoffs, and they had that remarkable upset against the Milwaukee Bucks. In the first round, Kyle Lowry dealing with injuries left, right, and center. And now in the second round, when Jimmy Butler goes down with an ankle injury, I guess that was late in the fourth quarter. But regardless, off the bench, Kyle Lowry's out here making history, right? As a 37-year-old, Kyle Lowry's the oldest guard to ever have 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 blocks in a playoff game. Michael Jordan was the oldest at 32. So obviously that's a cherry pick stat. But Kyle Lowry's just proven to be the leader for this Miami Heat team, even with his reduced role. And he was catching some, not to make a pun, but some serious heat from the Miami Heat fans throughout the course of this season for coming into the season not in shape, being old, getting paid $30 million per year and not being able to produce and all of that. Well, he had an absolutely remarkable game in the play-in to put the Miami Heat into against the Atlanta Hawks, I believe that game was against. So, in the play-in, a big moment, right? Kyle Lowry had a big game. Was dealing with injuries and all that sort of stuff. And now, in a game like this where the Heat needed someone to step up, Kyle Lowry did it off the bench of the squad. And Jimmy Butler had this to say, saying he's a winner, he's our leader, he's starting coming off the bench, he is a champion. Talking about, Kyle Lowry in Game 1. Receiving some love from across the NBA. Kristaps Porzingis is saying Lowry is so smart and experienced. He's regretting the Raptors didn't trade for Stinky Pinky during a couple trade deadlines ago. I think Kyle Lowry is still on the roster, but there's that. And we got Jack Harlow also showing some love. Not necessarily about his basketball game, but Kyle Lowry just took a fadeaway 3, landed in my lap. The rumors are true. His stuff was like a pillow, so... the rumors are true, folks. Kyle Lowry's thickness is getting called out there by Jack Harlow. But I'm just happy to see the Raptors' growth out here, showing out for another organization, getting the praise. He obviously had that reputation as one of the trash bros, a playoff performer, or a guy that couldn't perform in the playoffs early in his Raptors tenure. I thought that was really unwarranted because a lot of the games people were pointing to, he was injured and all that sort of stuff. And injuries were a big issue this time of year for Kyle Lowry. I won't deny that by any means, but the fact that he's playing through some injuries right now for this Heat squad and still performing, still being the leader, still doing Kyle Lowry things, putting his name out there for maybe not a bigger market, but a more American-centric market, a team that everyone has their eyes on right now after they've beaten the Milwaukee Bucks. Just a great thing to see. So shout out to Kyle Lowry, absolute legend growth. And right now I'm rooting for the Miami Heat, especially with the Kings gone now. I'm rooting for the Heat to win the NBA championship as the 8th seed, because that would just be a crazy thing to witness as a basketball fan. But the next thing we're taking a look at is a Woj Raptors coaching update. And this one's a minor one, just a minor Woj Raptors coaching update. Basically, Woj had some insights about some assistants that are potentially on the market there, saying that Jacques Vaughn and the Nets are reshaping their coaching staff for his first full season as head coach next year, parting ways with Igor Kokoskov. Apologize, I'm butchering that name. Brian Keefe and Tiago Splitter. Hawks did the same this weekend with Quinn Snyder and inherited late in the season. The Pistons, Rockets, and Raptors will be hiring largely new assistant coaching staffs with the arrival of their next head coaches. So these veteran assistants will be available for that mix. And, there's a few of these names. Obviously Tiago's a basketball player that used to play for the Spurs during those runs. But basically, the Raptors are going to be looking for entire new coaching staffs. We did retain Adrian Griffin, but we're going to be on the lookout. And I know Igor is a guy that few Raptors fans are pretty interested in, for his stints with the Brooklyn Nets, a guy across the league. So keep an eye out for the Raptors assistant coaches, bench being filled out there on that front. But the final thing we're taking a look at is Ime Udoka throwing some more shade at the Toronto Raptors. This is just a minor one. Still the same types of things he was saying, or the same type of sentiments that were being put out from Ime Udoka's camp and the reporters reporting on his whole situation. But basically, Ime Udoka made it clear that he wasn't looking for a team that would be fine with returning to the playoffs or out in the first round, per Kelly Eco. So, post by NBA Central there. So, he's not trying to go to a squad. It's a very weirdly worded tweet, weirdly worded report, but it's summarized on that front. But Ime Udoka is not trying to go to a first-round exit team. The only real first-round exit team he had on his radar there was the Toronto Raptors. So don't know, maybe not full out shade, but just more little shots. They're really pushing this narrative that Ime Udoka doesn't want to go to a team with the first round exit. He's making it known. The Raptors, I assume, are falling in that bracket. That's why he didn't even take a meeting, it feels like, with the Raptors organization. Some stuff. Again, I made it known. I'm not rooting for Ime Udoka down there with Houston with the weird shenanigans he's pulling this offseason. But folks, you guys are the best to make this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. And, we'll keep you up to date on all the latest Toronto Raptors news. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.